Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Digital Wilds. I'm Robin, and this is a game I've been wanting to look at for a very long time indeed. This is Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. It is possibly one of my favourite games, and while it isn't technically in the obscure milieu of this channel, it is in the lead up to Paper Mario: The Origami King coming out later this year, and I thought it was best that we had a proper playthrough of what is still, I think, an underappreciated game. It came out during the dying days of the GameCube, and so it's not had quite the amount of love that some of its stablemates might have otherwise had. So, without further ado, let's get started and see what makes this game so special. I absolutely love the graphical style in the Paper Mario world, particularly the first couple of games. It's this beautiful pop-up book style that I think really holds up aesthetically, even if it's not quite the same level of graphical fidelity you'd be used to in more modern games. I think it has a certain confidence in its own style that I think a lot of them are lacking. So Luigi brings us a letter from Princess Peach. Luigi is very much a side character in this game, but he does come up. So Princess Peach is on holiday in a distant part of the Mushroom Kingdom. She's come into possession of a magical map, and she's sort of drafted Mario into helping her hunt down the treasure that is listed therein. So he's off on his way to a place called Rogueport, which doesn't sound particularly pleasant, but we'll find out soon enough what it's like. And this is the magical map, showing us some of the locations we're going to be visiting in the next few dozen hours. This is not a short game, I should warn you. This is probably going to take several parts, because we've got multiple chapters to get through, but it is pretty much a joy from start to finish. There are very few bits in this that I'd say are disappointing or frustrating or mediocre, so you should be in for a bit of a wild ride. So we begin, of course, with the prologue as we arrive in Rogueport for the first time. The lovely 2D elements of the graphics really coming into their own here as well. This game is technically playable through Dolphin with the various VR headsets, and I'd absolutely love to see what this looks like in VR, to be able to sort of poke around this little pop-up book world in the way it was meant to be seen. So you see the first of these papery effects here, which do cause a little bit of slowdown on my PC, but are worth seeing. So, yeah, the controls are fairly simple. We got A to jump, we got B to hammer, and that's it for now, but that will expand as we proceed. So first things first, these are save blocks. These let us not have to go back miles whenever we die, which, while I'll try to avoid it, will happen a couple of times. So you'll see that there's a kind of, anarchic humour to this. This is one of the occasions where the Toads had individual little personalities and were sort of influenced by the places in which they hung out. And this is something that didn't really continue in some of the later Paper Marios, which I think was why Sticker Star and Colour Splash were a little bit disappointing. But an incident has occurred. This Goomba is under attack by this strange alien beast. These guys dressed like sort of colonial British soldiers. I don't know if that's intentional or an accident. Well, we're Mario, we're a hero, so we better ride to this girl's rescue. And we are thrown straight into our first experience of this game's combat, which I think is where this really shines. We're obviously on a little stage in a theatre. We are playing this for all it's worth, and in typical turn-based style, we've got a menu-based combat here. I'm going to go for a jump, and this, unlike other turn-based RPGs, has sort of player interaction, so you'll see that if we tap A at the right time, we can earn or fail action commands, which will increase the amount of damage we do, can give us extra star points later on, can decrease damage, and so on and so forth. We'll see these as we get through this initial battle. I unfortunately missed the A button on that. So if we go for a hammer this time, you'll see if we hold that back and release it at the right time, We can get 2 damage by getting the action command right, and we get stylish points by pressing the A button to react to the attack in the correct way. Stylish points are never really explained to you; they're kind of a bonus for experienced players, but I find they make the battles a bit more fun visually. So for that, we get star points. I think we get 10 of them there. Maybe it's 9. And the amount of those you need to level up is always 100, but the amount you earn from enemies decreases as you level up. So it amounts to the same thing as higher XP caps. It's just a little bit more intelligible visually. Yep, so unfortunately, this is one of the games where the GameCube was showing off its ability to render crowds of hundreds of objects at the same time, which was quite impressive at the time, but it did mean this game has a tendency to throw hordes at you. Fortunately, they're not usually that dangerous because you can just sort of sneak around them. So, without further ado, let's sneak our way out of here. So despite the fact that Crump could have just followed us through the only available exit point, he doesn't, and we are free of him for a little while. So we get our introduction to Goombella here. You'll want to watch the background of this scene. So she's a student at the University of Goom, and she is a sympathetic Goomba. She's not one of those nasty Bowser Goombas you might be stereotypically imagining if you only played the platformers. And she's going to be our companion for the rest of this game. So she's quite useful because she can show us a way to finding information about people we're standing next to, information about locations we're in. If we ever get stuck in terms of puzzles, she can be really useful. So she's an archaeology student, which means that she's able to sort of give us a bit of a steer on the map the Princess Peach sent us. And you'll see from this unfortunate incident in the background here that there's some kind of turf war going on in Rogueport between the Piantas on one hand and the whatever those guys are called on the other. And here we are with Toadsworth. I believe this might have been Toadsworth's last appearance in a mainstream Mario game. I think after this he was kind of retconned out, never really appeared again. But I think his first appearance was in Super Mario Sunshine, so he had a bit of a good run on the GameCube. So yes, Peach has been kidnapped again, as you'd expect. It's not entirely in the same way that you might be used to Princess Peach being kidnapped if you played some of the classic Mario games. But we can always go back to Toadsworth and have a chat with him in the inn. So our first job is to go meet with Professor Frankly. But Goombella has now joined us, so we get this joyful little tutorial section. I really like the background patterns and the little cutaways you get in these. So yes, press the X button and she will tell us a little bit about our surroundings. It's not that useful as a sort of puzzle-solving mechanic, but it's nice for sort of world building and discovering, you know, all you can about this little universe. Plus she's quite good in combat, and I'll be relying on her quite a bit for the at least for the first couple of chapters. So this game, as you'll see from the noose hanging in the square, has a bit of a sort of more adult tone to it than some of the classic Marios. It's not really adult, just quite anarchic and childish in many ways, but not as homely and friendly as Nintendo's more modern image tries to inculcate. So first things first, we've got to go to the right to see Frankly, but we'll go and have a quick word with Zesty. So she's lost her contact lens and won't let us by until she finds it. Well, we can speed up that process. Unfortunately, yeah, we have squished that. So we've got to get her a new one, and that stops us from getting through to the next area of the map, but that's okay, because we can go and order one in from this shop. So that will be there in a little while, but for now, we'll move on. We've got some exploration to do in this area before we go and see Frankly. Come back here, we'll find this Goomba who has been on the lam for a little while. We'll also find this guy who's a bit of a gambling addict, and you'll see from the amount of graffiti and the general level of litter that this is not a place that is particularly well loved or cared for. But if we look behind this dirty mattress, we will find a star piece, and there are 100 of those in this game, and they will come in very, very useful indeed, as we will get to down the line. for now, we've collected that, and we will move on. So we'll head into the inn, and in here we'll find a couple of interesting things. There's this guy who's looking after his skull stone, which is his favourite possession. We've got this guy who is, you may recognise as a Bean Bean from the Bean Bean Kingdom in Mario and Luigi, that series of RPGs, particularly the first one, Superstar Saga, which was set in the Bean Bean Kingdom. And that's a little bit of a nod to the other RPG series in the Mario universe. So this is an inn, we can talk to her, we'll get a full heal, it's an RPG, you know how those work. We head up here, so we can't go into the badge house yet, but if we have a look back here on this rooftop, we'll find a second star piece. It's good to just collect these as you go if you know where they are, because otherwise having to go back and retrieve them later to get all the rewards is a bit of a pain. And I think, having said that, we might have one back here. Yep, there's number 3. Oh dear, so we've had half our coins nicked, I believe. But fortunately, I've played this game before, so I know how to get those back. So if we head back around the rear of this building, and enjoying the swinging around of the perspective as you go through these transition zones. If we head back into this dirty house where we found that star piece a moment ago, we should find that thief lurking. And if we confront him, we don't have to fight him or anything, we just get our 50 coins back in our inventory. So through to this second zone, and this wall might appear to be solid, but the false perspective is tricking us. You'll see that it's actually 2 walls. And we've got another thief lurking back here, plus this gloomy fella who's got some kind of goth appearance going on. His name is Darkly. He will come in useful later. I believe if we hop up here, yep, star piece number 4 for us. And we've got a couple of options here. So this is Frankly's house, you can tell because we've got the special front door. This is the upgrade house, which we can't do anything with yet, but you'll see it's got a shining sprite from Super Mario Sunshine above the door. So we should be able to do something with that in a bit. Let's fight this guy. He's a bit of a tough fight if you're starting out, but we should be able to make our way through it without too much difficulty. Not least as we can switch positions with the Goombella to put her in the starting position, which she can't do any damage to him because it runs off sort of vulnerability rules, because he's got a spike poking up. Her attack is a jump attack, so she'll take damage if we attack him, unless we've got some kind of badge installed. We'll get to that. So I'm going to put her in front and set her to defend so that we can just defend Mario's health. And what we're going to have to do is hammer this guy because we can't jump on him either. I believe he has 20 HP in all. If we super guard with B, so if you get the timing for the defense just right, you can completely negate damage, or in fact damage enemies who are attacking you, which is what we just did there. And you'll get a great response if you do that. So I'm going to switch over to her second attack, which is Tattle. And what this does is it adds the enemies to a log, which is kept throughout the game. And it also tells you about their maximum HP, their stats, and how much HP this particular enemy has. So you'll see that he's got 18 remaining, so 9 more attacks from Mario will get him down. And this time we can see that a super guard will do 1 damage to him because he attacked directly. So now that we've done that with Goombella, there's not much else we can do, so we're just going to defend with her, and I'll skip forward to when I've hammered this guy down to defeat. So this guy you can get past him by just paying him 10 coins, but you have to do that every time you pass if you do, and it's kind of a waste of coins because you can never get them back, and he's not a difficult sort of mini-boss even for the early game, so you might as well just defeat him and get him out of the way. Sorry, Gus. So after a quick super guard by Goombella there, we should be able to just hammer this guy down and get this battle finished off nice and quickly for some extra star points. There we go, 22, which is a nice bonus early on. Takes us almost to a third of the way to level 2 already, without having done any proper plot stuff. So he's out of the way, and that gives us access to this right-hand side of the map. Now, we can't do anything with this at the moment. This house is locked from the inside. There's some footprints leading to this gap in the wall, but we can't sneak through those right now. And I believe this place is locked. This is the Trouble Center. That's where you get sub-quests, but they will be available later, and this house is locked as well. But it was useful to unlock that because we can do a lot of things with it later down the line. So, without anything else to do, let's go and have a chat with Professor Frankly. So he's got this house here, which is very, very full with books to the degree that he doesn't even seem to have a bed or a oven or a kitchen or a bathroom or any of the other things that might be useful for living. So Frankly's thing is he's a bit scatterbrained and can't remember who Goombella is. The joke within this universe is that Mario is a bit of a celebrity. People tend to know who he is, but Frankly is so much of a head in the clouds, ivory tower academic that he does not. But he agrees to help us anyway. So he explains to us that we need 7 crystal stars, which can be got in various lands around Rogueport, and the magical map will help us to find where they are. But first things first, we're going to have to find the 1000-Year Door, and that's going to require a little bit of exploration, which Frankly is going to help us out with. So with Frankly in tow. Also, you'll see here, he's got this trash can, which is yellow. If we do not tattle any enemies which only appear once, like bosses, we can go back here and they will be in Frankly's bin, so we can collect them and add them to our tattle log. So this game does not allow you to sort of back yourself into a corner with the tattle log, which is nice sort of, I guess, quality of life improvement for the player. So yeah, we'll follow Frankly down into the pipe. First things first, he wants to tell us about action commands, but we know about them, so I am going to deny that tutorializing. But first things first, we'll head behind. Oh, I thought there was a star piece back there. Evidently there isn't. And there isn't one here either. So, yep, we'll just follow Frankly into that pipe. So we've got a couple of ways to go here in the underground. If we head to the left, we will see this gentleman with star pieces dangling from his hat. He will be useful later for reasons that I reckon you can probably puzzle out. We've got this plinth here with a star piece behind it, so that takes us up to 5. And we've got this place here. This, we'll have Goombella tell us, is Merlovely. She's part of the Mer family, who are kind of mystics who appear in the Paper Mario series, particularly in the early games. And I think what she can do, I seem to recall, yes, she can look for things for us, so we can ask her about the path we need to take through the game. We can ask her about where the nearest star piece is. We can ask her about where shine sprites are. I don't need that. Might do towards the end of the game if I can't find some of the more obscure shine sprites, which can be useful for upgrading our partners, but for now, that's fine. So we can't get through these bars to get down this pipe. So what I'm going to have to do is head down here, and unfortunately, it's not as easy as all that. So these creeps want to hit on Goombella, so we're going to hit on them with a hammer. And this basically is just explaining how locational damage works, so we can't jump on spiky enemies and we can't hammer flying enemies, but that's you know, easy enough. What this is useful for is tattling these guys to get them into your tattle log nice and early, so you don't have to bother with them down the line, so we're going to do that. First the Goomba, then the spiky Goomba, and then the Para Goomba. These guys only have 2 health, so they're very easy to take down. Spiky guys, when they jump on you, do double damage, but the flying guys don't, so we'll just tattle the spiky Goomba. We should get that first Goomba down. So he goes down and we get 3 star points for that, which is frankly excessive for a Goomba because they're very weak. But now that, yeah, Goombella and Mario are looking a little bit damaged, given that they're only on under 5 HP, so we get this these slightly pitiful animations, but we should be able to heal them up fairly soon. But first things first, going to take down our spiky Goomba because he's the one doing extra damage. And now that he's down, we can just do normal guards, which are much easier than super guards because he only does 1 damage, so the normal guard blocks all the damage anyway. Normal guard reduces the incoming damage by 1 by default. Super guards negate all damage, so they're obviously much better, but harder to do as a result. So that's 10 star points, getting us climbing towards that 2nd level. And we're free of those guys for the moment. And frankly, just explains that we can hit guys when they appear in the field, so that we don't have to... so that we can do a bit of a first strike against them. That can backfire if you jump on a spiky enemy in the field, but generally it's a good idea to do so that you can get some early damage in. And with that, we can climb over this platform and head down this pipe. This is not a game that generally requires much precision platforming. There's a bit of it in there. This solo Goomba should not cause as much difficulty, frankly. I get a bit of trouble with my A button and getting the action commands to work. I will try and resolve that. And yes, some enemies drop hearts in the field, which obviously allow you to heal up a little bit. It's not really enough to keep your health topped up to full, but it's a nice little bonus if you're between healing points. Doing first strikes can also be a way to, as I'll try and demonstrate, get a first strike on an enemy who wouldn't normally be vulnerable to it, so we can hammer a flying enemy if we hit him in the field. And because he's only got 2 HP, that takes him down first thing. So that's 3 star points for us. Which at this stage of the game is very, very healthy indeed. The star points you get from Goombas do decrease quite rapidly. So with this block here, we can hammer that. That gets us a mushroom, which would be useful for topping up our health. We should be alright for now. And that room would be lovely to go into, but we can't get through bars just yet. So for now, just going to have to move on, get that fire flower, and hammer this spiky Goomba so that he goes down before he can cause as much damage. Follow this path along. We'll run into what's down here, which is these big blocks which we can't activate yet. Plus there's a shine sprite up there, you'll see. So that'll be useful later. For now, we can bash our way through these blocks and hop down this pipe. And as well as a star piece, I believe, is hidden back here. Yep, that's number 6. We'll see this little fella, who isn't useful for now, but will come in useful later. And this is a spinner. They are so named because of what they do. These guys are kind of assembled out of 3D parts, which is a nice little touch for a paper world. And if we tattle them, we'll find out they've got, I think, 3 HP. Yeah, there we go. Managed to miss that super guard, sadly, so we'll have to do another round to take him down, but shouldn't be too difficult. And there we go, so another 3 star points. Quick top up to our health there. Oh, but we managed to get a first strike in there. You can super guard these, so if I'd been luckier there, we could have avoided the damage and got some early damage in ourselves. But for now, I'll start jumping on those guys. Really struggling to nail the timing on the jump attacks, which is unfortunate. I can get them with Goombella, but not with Mario. So that's one guy down. But another 6 star points for us, taking up very quickly towards that second level. And another quick healing point there. So there's a key up there. And if we jump on this block, just make sure there isn't anything at the end of this corridor. No, there isn't. Jump on that block. See some of the much vaunted paper effects on this wall. You'll see there's another one here as well, but we can't activate that quite yet. So if we hop over here and grab this key, we can head through this door. And here's a very ominous spiky black chest. This does not intrinsically bode well, but we'll have a go. Yep, so this guy's been cursed into this box, and yep, Frankly isn't sure. And this shifty character wants us to let him out of the box, which we obviously shouldn't do, but we are nothing if not gullible. So we've got the key. Let's let him free. And this is the first of several occasions on which we will be called fools and horribly cursed. So unfortunately we've been afflicted with a status effect which is going to last the entire game, and which will give us the horror of having to turn into a paper aeroplane every time we press Y on one of these panels. So we are not in a good way. We have been cursed, and the curse is at least not severe enough that it stops us from returning to normal after our paper aeroplane time. So now that we've got that, we might as well make use of it. Turn lemons into lemonade and turn into paper plane Mario, and that lets us fly across this gap. And through here we have what is self-evidently the 1,000-year door. So quite conveniently located just behind Roadport. If we drop down here, we'll see we've got this quite large damaged plaza in front of it. But we'll drop a quick save. And we'll go have a look at what is going on here. So hop up on top of this pedestal and present the map. And yes, indeed, with a flourish of GameCube quality visual effects, we have our map annotated with the first of the crystal stars, and it's over in that rather pleasant hilly district to the northeast, with a castle where what looks like a silver star is awaiting us. So we've also gained a star move. We can use Sweet Treat, which we can use to heal up our characters throughout combat. I don't find it all that useful, but some people sort of swear by it, so I will show it off at some point. So if we return to Frankly's house, he'll teach us first about special moves, and I don't want to try it out, so we're off to Petal Meadows. And that'll be where we find the first star, but it's obviously not going to be as easy as that. That's definitely one, Professor. Ah, so he's met Princess Peach already, so she knows a little bit about the treasure. That isn't the last we'll hear of Peach. So, first things first, I'm going to go do... Ooh. So indeed, we've been presented with the Power Smash badge, which is going to be quite a useful fixture, given that I'm so bad at the action commands for jumping. So basically badge points are one of our stats. We have 3 by default. We can use one of them to equip Power Smash, which lets us use our flower points, which you'll see are those second stat up in the middle of the screen, which allow us to do more powerful attacks on enemies. The Power Smash is fairly simple, but badges can take all sorts of forms. They can affect your health, they can affect your defense, they can affect your attack, they can affect certain special moves, they can affect how much flower points you use. There are all sorts of effects, and the badges are really where the spice of life comes into this game, because they allow you to basically customize your Mario in whatever way you like, and I hope they make a comeback in Origami King. That's something I'd really like to see in the new game. So we'll just pay 5 coins for a night in this inn. And with our health topped up and a healthy supply of coins, we will head off to Petal Meadows. It's not as simple as it sounds, and that will require us going back down to the sewer, so we need to be a little bit careful, but shouldn't be too much of a hassle. So now that we've got ourselves past that tutorial bit, you'll find that this guy has moved into an area we can access. His name is Dazzle, and he is where we can trade in star pieces. So now that we've got access to badges, have a look at what we can get. So there's some fairly cosmetic ones, so like attack FXY just affects the sound that your hammer makes. Pretty Lucky increases your dodge chance, which is very handy. Happy Heart can also be handy because it means that you can restore your health very gradually during battle. It's not very quick, but if you go down to the bigger ones here at the bottom of the list, you can get Power Plus, which just boosts all your damage by 1, boosts all your partner's damage by 1, saves you flower points. Quick Change is invaluable if you can get hold of that, so that's one we want to get quite swiftly. But for now I'm going to leave it, but you'll find that all of those badges total up to 100, so to get them all you will need to do quite a good job of exploring the world, finding them in some unexpected places, and winning them as prizes from minigames. So if we hover over that spiky Goomba there, we can make our way to the right this time. and find ourselves in this big cavernous area where a mysterious tentacle is waiting on the docks. So, nothing ventured, nothing gained. And indeed, fresh from the streets of Rico Harbour, it is Gooper Blooper. And he's quite the boss. He's, you know, got a couple of different attack points. He's got his tentacles, and he's also got, you know, his own ink attacks and charge attacks. So we're going to want to tackle him fairly early on, because we only encounter him once, so that we can add him to the roster of enemies we've seen. I'm going to start out with a Fire Flower, because it does 3 damage to all enemies, so we can destroy those tentacles first thing first. Using an item uses up your turn, like in most RPGs, so that does deprive us of a chance to jump or hammer him, but does 3 damage all round and takes him down to the ground, which makes him much more vulnerable to our strikes. So now, easy as pie, already down to 7 HP. If I go in for a Power Smash, I can show that off. So this takes longer to charge, but does 4 damage, plus we get multiple chances to do stylish attacks, and you'll see there that that gets us a lot of applause from the crowd of 2. So those applause points go into the star meter, which is just below our flower points, and we'll use those to heal up when we need to. I'll just headbonk this guy for now. And a normal attack should be able to finish him off without using up any flower points. And that's a lovely 20 star points for us, getting ever closer to that first level up. Now that he's out of the way, we get these lovely platforms, which we need to be a little bit careful that we don't fall into the water, because Mario, being made of paper, is particularly vulnerable to that fate. He will take 1 damage and get bitten by a chain chomp if you do fall in the water. And that takes us to this pipe. And you'll notice it's a different colour to the others. That's because it takes us to a brand new location. Chapter 1, Castle and Dragon. Very much does what it says on the tin. And we are here in Petal Meadows. Quite a pleasant area, you would think, but it is replete with enemies. So, first things first, hammer this tree, and we'll get star piece number 7. And if you hammer the other tree, you'll get yourself a mushroom, so it's a good place to start out. Before we go and explore the Petal Meadows, I'm going to drop a save, and I think we will leave it off for this episode. I hope you've had a good introduction to Paper Mario and why it's so great. Next episode, we will be pushing onwards through Chapter 1. We should be able to beat it, or at least get most of the way through it. But for now, we'll leave things there, and I will join you tomorrow for more of the Shiver, which is a very, very different tone to this game, but nonetheless, quite an exciting one in its own right. So I hope you've enjoyed some of the new content that's been up on the channel in the last week. We finished off Battalion Wars on Wednesday. We've also got Chibi Robo going on Friday, so that was a bit of a chance to explore a rather charming little game that I'd never played before. So if you've enjoyed this, please consider subscribing so I can help grow the channel, and if you want to back me on Patreon, I am at patreon.com/digitalwilds. So for now, I will leave it there, and with Mario and Goombella staring off into the infinite void that is the side of the screen, I will see you next time. Thanks very much.